All right, let me give us a few announcements. Bear with me if you would. Carrie and Bobby are reading today. Donald is doing our tech. You're probably wondering what happened to Besa. Besa was on today. Besa's grandmother was dying, and it may have passed by now. I could not get hold of Besa, and so I panicked and wound up. You're going to love this. Wound up putting today's service and sermon together at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday at 3 a.m. Yes, you heard that. Turns out Besa finally did get hold of me. Of course, she wasn't answering the phone or anything. Her grandmother's dying. So we offer our condolences, obviously, to Besa and her family. She is also going on a new career. She's still going to be affiliated with us, and we will probably hear from her again in late fall. But she is going to be working as a chaplain faculty now. And so she has to finish some major work to do that as well. In May, we've got the Deaches on board for Mother's Day. We have traditionally dealt with every kind of mother possible. We've had lesbian mothers, single mothers, working mothers, name different kinds of mother. One we have forgotten, and mothers who are mothering but not having children, lots of them too, lots. We forgot the age group my mother was in. A whole different era of mothering. Totally forgot that. So Cindy Deach says to me, it is going to be sharing with some thoughts about mothering from another era. And then Larry will be offering words at the Agape Supper, the Jesus meal, and I'll be assisting during that. Then on the Memorial Day weekend, if anybody is going to be here, what this Marjorie Taylor Greene says, stepmothers are not, I would pie her, except I get arrested. Memorial Day weekend, we're going to have to revisit the just war theory with Ukraine. That topped everything upside down again. If anybody needs to read, are going to be around on Memorial Day weekend, I need readers. Some absolutely fascinating reading. Okay, next thing to remind everybody, we do not stop during the summer. There are lots of congregations that stop altogether, or they go and throw some half-hour service together. We continue year-round annoying everybody regularly. We do not stop in our ability to annoy everybody 24/7. So if you're thinking we give it up in the summer, no, we've got a full schedule. Michelle will be preaching. Larry is going to be preaching. I'm going to be preaching, and Michelle has a friend she wants to introduce us to that's going to be really good too. So we've got a full summer steam ahead. Felix Becerra has gone nuts, and you should see the artwork he's done for us. He's putting out artwork, UU artwork all over the place for our emails. He organized YouTube. You go to YouTube now and you go to videos, and you will see the unbelievable number of videos we've had. Did you know we had a video that had 350 some hits over the years? So he organized it all, and he's also put donate buttons everywhere. Somebody said it's hard to donate to All Souls, so he's put PayPal buttons everywhere. So in case people have a chance to give, they can. We want to remind everybody to hold close. Zoraida's father died. Zoraida's mother fought pancreatic cancer for 16 months or so, but nobody knew that her father had lung cancer at the same time. Nobody knew it. Her mother dies. Her father's not well. They take him to get a test, and it turns out it's metastasized through his whole system. He was fatally ill the same time as, but nobody knew. He passed last week, and I will send out the information about the service tomorrow. It's for tomorrow, and she's having a small gathering at her house tomorrow. It has been quite a long time ordeal for Zoraida and her sister and the kids. Okay, so hold Zoraida close. Ray, who is here with us, is bouncing back from a massive stroke. And he is an example of when we have to talk about resilience. David Schroeder is slowly recovering from a massive series of gallbladder attacks and everything else that he had. He's a quadriplegic. He's back at home now. And so he is better and better, but it's taking time. Casey is slowly getting better too. He got sick with the flu and he's doing much better. You remember Ed Johnson. Remember Ed Johnson used to be with us all the time. Ed passed, but his sister also lives in Florence. She comes in. She's a member of us too. She's gotten very sick as well for the last 3 weeks. So if you hold all of these people close, Zoraida, Ray, David, Casey, and Cheryl Ann. Now, a couple of other things, and then we'll get on with the service. We have had 3 people step up to help us out. Karen Paul is going to be stepping in to be secretary as Angie has fled to London. Sends these pictures enjoying herself. It's really annoying. She's having a ball. I mean, seriously, it's annoying. And she takes a picture, having a great time. Yeah. All right. Felix is gone nuts. Felix is like the art of the art. This guy is like, he put our very first website together back in 2006. He is a strong representative of the LGBTQ community in Miami and knows where everything is going on all the time. So we'll be hearing how we can support the LGBTQ community realistically. He does all kinds of tech stuff. And then Donald Grimmy, there he is, the man himself, who you remember seeing pictures of him when he was 3 next to my giant deer hound. Gregory Bowe has decided to abandon us. He's got accepted to a couple of law schools. Now he has to figure out which one he's going to as he leaves us in August. So Grimmy, I'm not saying I threatened Grimmy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I threatened him. But Grimmy said he'd be glad to fill in and step in. Step in as the new parish administrator. So we're all staffed again. And I'm going to be bugging the Vances soon if there's an opening. So just I thought I'd warn you in front of everybody. All right, let's see. Some other people have joined us since. Pack and Karis here and Carol Goldstein as well, also from New York. Carol Goldstein from New York, Pam from New York, Danny Sorkin from New York, Pat Sullivan from New York, Alan and Eddie from New York, and I'm missing one. I'm missing somebody. And Doug. Ray is there from New York. And we've got Doug, who's from a very, very small suburb of Stuttgart called Munich. Yes, he's from ex-New York as well. So I'll say hello to my cousin, my first cousin, whom I actually got to meet just a couple of years ago. We found out we should be twins, actually. We're very, very, we really are just, yes. All right, everybody, we begin our service with the lighting of the memorial candle, and this is tough. A man is shooting off a gun, a rifle, at 11 p.m. in the evening in Texas. And next door people who have a baby sleeping ask if he would stop shooting the rifle off at 11 p.m. and he goes over and kills 5 of them. Takes his rifle out, goes over and shoots the bunch of them to death, shoots them in the head. This was 2 days ago. I don't even know where to begin. There was a little teenager who comes into a driveway, goes to turn around, she gets shot. And then a black kid goes up to knock on the door to get his brothers, and some white guy shoots him in the head and then shoots him in the leg. I don't know where to begin. So light a candle, light lots of candles. I don't know what's happened. I remind everybody when the Second Amendment said you have the right to bear arms, when that was made, you had a 10-pound, 15-pound musket rifle that couldn't shoot anything. If it did, you were lucky to hit anything. You could barely lift the thing. So let's light a candle for those who've died innocently. And hopefully at some point we get our country back on track. Now, speaking of resilience today, we discovered this group before the song became popular. Do you remember the Masaka kids, the orphan kids from Uganda, Jerusalem? We discovered them before the song hit Africa and became popular. Gail and Tom have joined us too, also from Port Orange. If you would, Donald. Before beginning our call to worship, just let me remind everybody who are watching the kids dance, they would put the rest of us to shame. Could you imagine this group trying to do that? Our call to worship this morning, for those of you who would wish, if you would say it with me, it is an old Hindu saying. For those of you who wish, look to this day, for it is life, the very breath of life. In its brief course lie all the realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. The yesterday is only a dream, and tomorrow is but a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. And for those of you who wish, you may come to this love for a few seconds, then go away and do whatever you will. God's love is unchanging. You may deny the power of love to yourself, then curse God to anyone who will listen. God's love is unchanging. You may become the most despised of creatures and then return. God's love is unchanging. Go where you will, do whatever you will, stay however long you will, and come back. No matter what befalls, no matter what you become, love awaits you always. Love knows you and serves you. God's love for you in a changing world is unchanging. Besa introduced us to that song a year ago. We have a reading by Maya Angelou. It's divided into two parts. And the Vances are going to read. Which one of you are going to read this one first?
I will read it.
Okay, Carrie, if you would, please.
Oh, he has it on there. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise.
A responsive reading, if you'd be kind enough to read the big indented, chances are, no matter how bad your troubles seem to be,
it's too small.
Someone, somewhere with less resilience has successfully conquered a more severe version of your problems. Resilient people do not bounce back from hard experiences. They find healthy ways to integrate them into their lives. And everybody together, you cannot learn resilience by reading a book or listening to a lecture. And who's going to continue reading the Maya Angelou?
Okay.
Bobby is.
Out of the huts of history's shame,
I rise.
up from a past that's rooted in pain,
I rise.
I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear,
I rise.
into a daybreak that's wondrously clear,
I rise.
bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave.
I rise, I rise, I rise.
Wow. Grant us, we ask, to speak, to hear, to be quiet, to learn, to speak, to hear, to learn, to share. And as we do this, may we gather a sense of strength, a sense of resilience. This we ask in the name of that which grounds us day in and day out, season in and season out, year in and year out. Amen. There is a great resource that I hope that we're going to start sending to All Souls. It comes out every month, and it's called Touchstones. And you're going to see a lot of the things that we use are from Touchstones. And the one for April was called Resilience. And Kirk Lodeman writes the following things about resilience. He says, from what do you need resilience? And then he offers, listen to this shopping list of just joys that happen to you and I. You might want to put on a seatbelt. This is an awful lot in one shot. Are you ready? Adversity. Well, where do we begin? Just driving in Miami? Our governor? Stop that, Kenneth, behave. Where do you want to begin with adversity? Seriously. Trauma. How many different kinds of trauma do people experience? We're finding out more and more and more the effects of childhood trauma on children and how that affects them later on. Stress. Where do we begin with stress? I remember the very first time I was really under stress and never understood what that did to your body until I started having incredible shoulder spasms. And to me, the worst aspect of stress is when you lose your sense of humor. When I lost my sense of humor, it was at that point I knew I needed to stop doing what I was doing in that job and move on. What about significant change? Nobody likes to change. We say we have to be change agents. Who really likes to change? Most of us, let's be honest, get comfortable doing certain things. I'll give you an example. Everybody here has a routine in the morning. All right. Now, I don't know how many of you have a routine in the morning where you shower in the morning. Imagine you get up to shower in the morning and the water's all cold. That ruins your morning. Or there's no coffee. Or everybody has routines and you break something that simple and you go nuts. Am I right? We get into routines. The way you do work is a certain way of doing work. Then all of a sudden you have to change. Now, my cousin may be changing and moving to Finland. No, you're not going to move to Finland? No? I thought you might be moving to Finland. Good. My wife and I are hooked on Finnish noir. By the way, in case any of you missed this, there's a thing called Scandinavian crime stories. It was 88 the other night, and Maria and Teresa and I are watching something from the Arctic Circle in Finland where it was minus 33. Why would you be living in the tropics and watching something from Scandinavia when the snow is out and blowing and it's freezing? No sun. And when the sun is out, it's not even warm. Excuse me. Significant change. Illness. Everybody here has faced illness. As Maureen just threw up on the thing, and there's long COVID too. You may have gotten over COVID, but we've had long COVID for many people as well. Have you ever lost a job? That's always a joy. That's just a joy forevermore. Heartbreak. Now, some of you have been in long-term relationships. Some of you have not been. Just let me say that heartbreak is just one of those things that how many songs have been written about heartbreak? How many poems have been written about heartbreak? How many people have jumped off bridges because of heartbreak? I mean, heartbreak is just one of those, yes. Family problems. Most families have issues. You know, most families have issues. I'm sure out there's somebody who has a perfect family all the time. I've never met them, but most families have issues. And I remember a classic thing was, and I say this, you know, it happened years ago. I remember saying to my brother was out swimming. He was visiting. I went down to visit my parents in the Keys. This was in the late 70s. I said, 70s? Yes, it was the mid 70s. And I said to them, we need family counseling. Our family is so dysfunctional, it's a mess. And my mother said to me, Kenneth, you're the problem. You've always been the problem. You need to go. In fact, why don't you leave? Yes. I mean, this is not unusual. People have all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, you know, I don't bring out all of my family stuff because it's so horrific. It's funny. I take that back. My wife and her mother, my wife's mother was probably one of the nicest mothers I've ever met anywhere. I take that back. My wife has a nice family, which is annoying because it breaks up everything I was saying. Most families have issues, though. Financial worries? Anybody here have financial worries? Yes. My first congregation was so wealthy, I got $6,000 a year for the salary. I got a house that was falling apart to live in. I dug ditches. I worked as a common laborer to supplement the income. 4 years of a fancy college, 3 years of Union Theological Seminary, where Chet was and I were class together. And what did I wind up digging? Concrete forms in New England. You go dig these holes and you put these forms in, and you put concrete between, and that's what I did. We get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, be picked up in a truck, and was like a common laborer. And that's what he did. I dug ditches and I dug dirt, and that's what he did for 2 years because we had no money. Death of a loved one. Some of us have lost loved ones. And by the way, I include pets. I know I probably will get, I'm sure I've been written up about this someplace. Those of you who have good dogs, you will trust the dog more than you will human beings. I didn't say that. Yes, I did. All right, cats too. Some of you love cats. I know that. You know what I'm saying. A good hound, a good cat, you know, they're nice. They've got their own style to you. But I'll tell you one thing, as I said to my students, zombies could come in the back door of this classroom. You would take off and leave me. You know who would stay with me? My 2 dachshunds. To the bitter end, my 2 dachshunds would stay with me, but the rest of you lot would be gone. And then after you're outside and I've been eaten, what happened to the professor? The old man. You know that. It's true. All right, finally, and natural disasters. Oh, yes, we live in a natural disaster alley. Hurricanes all over the place and everything else to boot. This was just a short list of the kinds of things for which plague human beings. There was a famous, I don't know if it's famous. I don't know if anybody remember this. Grimmy doesn't even remember Gina Lollobrigida. I don't know if any of you remember the TV show Laugh-In. Does anybody here remember the TV show Laugh-In? Have you ever heard of it? All right. There was on that the foul, fickle finger of fate. Nobody likes to talk about fate. It's too scary. We're in America. We like, excuse me for Doug and the rest of you, we like to be in charge. We like to know what's up. We like to be in control. Fate comes along and blows everything out of the... Nobody likes to talk about the foul, fickle finger of fate because it exists. What do you do? What do you do when all this stuff happens? The word, the word is supposed to be, you're supposed to be resilient. Yeah, really. Listen to that list. Listen to that list again. Adversity, trauma, stress, significant change, illness, job loss, heartbreak, family problems, financial worries, death of a loved one, natural disasters, and the list goes on and on and on. Then somebody writes, well, the way you deal with that is very, very easy. You have physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual resistance. Really? That sounds nice. It sounds good. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social resistance. Yeah, really. But what about those who are just tired of resilience? What about those who have no resilience left? They're traumatized, post-traumatic stress syndrome. They don't have it. This guy here, I don't know if you've ever seen him, Derek Johnson. He's a big deal in the NAACP and in the UU Ministers Association. He writes the following: I am tired of being resilient. I'm sick of resilience. I'm tired of hearing about people that are resilient. They drive me nuts. Not everybody has resilience. Is that true? Of course it is. Of course it is. You get resilient out. Second thing on my list, What about those who need some time before their resilience kicks in? I don't know if any of you remember, I'm going to tease Grimmy a grin since he didn't know Foul Fickle Finger of Fate or Gina Lollobrigida. Have any of you heard of Johnny Cash? Oh, okay. Let's see if you remember this song. He rode easy in the saddle. He was tall and lean. At first you thought nothing but a streak of mean could make a man look so downright strong, but one look in his eyes and you knew you were wrong. He was poor as a beggar, but he rode like a king. And sometimes in the evening, I heard him sing, I got to walk that lonesome valley. I got to walk it by myself. Nobody else can walk it for me. I got to walk it by myself. Then he says, you got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Nobody else can walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself. And for a lot of people, before resilience begins to kick in, you have the dark night of the soul. You've got to walk the lonesome valley and figure out what it's all about. It's lonely. It's scary. But for some people, resilience can't exist until you've done the work. And for work, that often means the lonesome valley, that terrifying, annoying dark night of the soul. Then there are those people you and I meet who are really, really annoying. And I'll tell you who they are. They're those people who are always as resilient. It drives you nuts. Something comes along, they bounce right to it. Once more into the breach, Horatio. Here we go. Yes, yes, Carpe Diem seize the day. We're going to take care of this. Annoys you? Yes, it does. Doesn't it annoy you? People who always got resilience, they're ready to go. Like, do you mind already? Go someplace else. Shut up. We don't need to listen to this. In fact, I would suggest that probably, if we're honest, when stuff really goes bad, all of us are tired of resilience. All of us need the lonesome valley, walk by ourselves, and all of us from time to time surprise ourselves and are instantly resilient. We're a weird mix of all of it. Isn't that true? It depends upon who we are, where we are, when we are, how we feel, how healthy we are, the right circumstances. We are an odd lot, we Homo sapiens. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, talking about resilience. I was going to say teasingly, if you go to AA, before you talk, you have to qualify. You have to say why you're allowed to talk to a bunch of other alcoholics. I was going to say I need to qualify, but then I thought that's ridiculous. Everybody here has been through the Lonesome Valley. Everybody here has had stress. Everybody's everything on that list, so I don't need to qualify to talk to all of you. But what I want to do is something different. When I went into the ministry, it was very, very clear. You talk about Reformed rabbis or white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ministers of a certain class. You do not give anything a part of yourself. You keep it intellectual. You keep it cold. You keep it from the book. You don't rely and tell about yourself. That's simply not done. We don't talk. One of the things that I heard in our UU church in Memphis is when one of the legislators who was kicked out of the Tennessee legislature goes back and he preached and he spoke. And he testified. Now, that's a word most people around here don't like to. You testify. You talk what you speak from the heart. Forget the book. Forget the doctrine. Forget the masters. You forget all the head stuff. Talk from here. So today I'm throwing out all of that. I'm going to do something very rare in Anglo, Reformed, Jewish, etc. circles. We're going to have a little testimony. We're going to talk about what it's like to be resilient when you're an alcoholic. We're going to talk about what do you deal with. You're dealing with a heart transplant 35 years and you know you can die any minute and how not fun that is, and you never tell anybody that. Do you ever think for 1 minute I'm not aware of the fact that alcoholism is a nasty, nasty disease and 90 to 95% relapse? Yes, it's that bad. Alcoholism. Some of you may have read that poor article by Amy Silverstein, 38 years old, 2 heart transplants, and both times the medicine did her in. She's dying now because of the heart transplant medicine. Yes, it happens. Don't think for a minute that I don't feel that. Don't think for a minute I don't understand what it's like to go through the dark night of the soul, because nobody wants to hear you talk about that. But we've all been there. We've all been there. I have the evil twins come to visit regularly, and I bet you know them. Resentment and grievance. Resentment and grievance love to get into you. Everybody here can give you a quick nameplate of all the things they're resentful for and all the things that have happened to them. Am I right? If I told everybody right now, quick, take out a pencil, a paper, a tablet, I don't care what you're, give me a list of all the things that people have done wrong to you. I'll give you 1 minute. Boom, that list to be filled up. Tell me the things that have been bad. Give me resentments. Let me hear the resentments roll up. We'd all do it. And this is the one thing that if you're talking about resilience that you've got to watch out for. The killers of resentments are the evil twins of resentment and grievance. It's hard to be resentful, but hard to be resilient when you're loaded with resentment and grievance. Resilience thrives on gratitude, thrives on love, thrives on respect and dignity. But when the evil twins come to visit, resentment and grievance, it will kill and destroy whatever resilience you have. The other who comes to visit me regularly, I don't know if you've ever been acquainted with Mel. You've ever met Mel? You may have met Mel in the famous movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves. Mel was dressed in a white linen suit. The devil, yes. Dressed in a white linen suit. And he spoke with a kind of voice that somebody has, an aunt who was smoked too much and had too much bourbon, that kind of raspy talk. Well, that's what the devil spoke like with his white linen suit. Mel comes and visits me at 3 a.m. in the morning. Oh, yes, it's always 3 a.m. in the morning. And he says to me, hey, Kenny. I hate Kenny. I get that 3 a.m. Hey, Kenny. You're looking a little old today, Kenny. You're looking a little old. Why, you know, I looked at Judy and Rick's dog, Angie. She looks better than you do. Maybe you need to go to the vet, Kenny. Yes, some of you get visited by Mel regularly to pick on your age, to pick on your weight, to pick on all of your shortcomings, to pick on things that make you extra sensitive. Yes. Have you never met Mel? Most people have met Mel or Melette in different forms, and it's always at 3 in the morning or some inappropriate, inopportune time. How do you deal with resilience when you've got Mel visiting with you, suggesting that your neighbor's dog looks better than you? Thank you, Rick and Judy. And she looks better than you. And they suggest maybe you need to go to the vet. Yes, that's just lovely for resilience. How do you get by? That's a question I get asked all the time. How do you get by? You're old. You do crazy things like 3 a.m. in the morning on Friday, putting a service and a sermon together. You're not quite right. How do you get by? And I want to share then my testimony how I get by surprise visits. Let me just share, and I can say this only for myself. I grew up with a definition of God that I quickly began to question. And I want to tell you how I began to question. Have you ever seen a picture that sticks in your mind and you'll never forget it? There was a picture that I saw of these little black spots on a road. And you know what they were? They were dead Armenian kids in Turkey at the second part of 1914. There was a genocide against Armenians in Turkey in 1914 and 1915. And I saw a picture of these little black things and said, these are all innocent kids who were shot down, just like that guy who shot the people next door in Texas the other day. And I kept on saying, look at all the, I was reading a book and I looked about the Peninsula War during the Napoleonic Wars. Hundreds of thousands of people died. 1914, 1915, 1915, 1916, two battles, the Battle of the Somme, the Battle of the Marne in Germany. The actual battle lines moved about two miles, that's it. About 1 million men died. What is this? And I kept on hearing, God is powerful. Then why didn't God use God's power to stop this? If God is a God of love, where's the love? And don't tell me I'm sinful and it's my fault. I had nothing to do with the Armenians, the slaughter, or anything else. But I got a surprise visits of things I didn't expect. And it suddenly challenged me to think maybe my understanding of God was all wrong. Maybe my understanding of God is making some giant Viking, some giant Teutonic knight, some giant super Homo sapien who's king, male, strong, masculine. Maybe what I found in my testimony is that what helps me be resilient is the surprises you and I get that I call surprises of divine reality. You've all heard about when I was in rehab at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I got a visit that I didn't expect when a voice spoke to me. But I suspect everybody gets surprise visits if we didn't block them out. A friend calls and asks, how are you? You read something and you find it absolutely enlightening out of nowhere. You see something and you smile. Somebody comes up and gives you a hug for no reason. They don't want anything. They just said, I like you. Somebody makes you laugh. Somebody just makes you giggle. You listen to music and you get inspired. The number of ways we get spoken to every day to keep us healthy, to keep us resilient, to help us get rid of the resentment, to help us get rid of the grievances. Look at where you are. Everybody here today has clothes. Everybody here today has health. Everybody here today has eaten today. Everybody here today has friends today. Everybody here has people looking at you. Why? Why? Because you're here. People care for you. There's no other reason to be here unless people care for you honestly and genuinely and don't want anything more from you here than just to be who you are. The divine surprises, the hellos, the hugs, the reading, the music, the moments that you can't explain, but they happen. Sometimes people call them religious experiences. I'll say you have a moment where something speaks to you in a way that you cannot, language doesn't work, but you feel it. One of the things I like about African-American services, when you go to visit an African-American church, I was asked to speak at Charles Street, AME Church in Boston, not once, but twice. And I remember going in, you walked in and you felt the choir rehearsing and the music just, you weren't even paying attention to the word, the energy spoke to you, the energy. And I considered that the energy was a moment of uplifting. I wasn't paying attention to just the energy itself. Then I remember going back to my church and I felt it was the dawn of the dead. I felt like you could skate down the central aisle. It was so cold. God's frozen people. I mean, good Lord. The energy we need, the surprise we need, all of that's out there. I consider aspects of divine reality. Divine reality says to you, not from the Mells, not from the evil twins, you count. You count, I count, you are somebody, I am somebody, we mean something. It means that we are lovable. Yes, I know there are times you and I are not lovable. Well, guess what? That's the real world, but sometimes we are. People actually do love us and care for us. Shocking as it may be, they do. We laugh, we sing, we hold hands. We do simple, ordinary things that give us life itself. That's what speaks to me. And you don't get that from a book. You don't get that from reading lists. You don't get that from going to lectures. You get that from paying attention to all the things around you that are free. Giggles, laughter, touches, moments, hellos, walking a dog, saying hello, listening, and waiting for unexpected moments. If there was ever a woman who knew tragedy, it was Maya Angelou. And I don't think I can ever do a good as job as Bobby and Carrie Vance. Whoa, the way they read that together was just there. Now there, you want to speak about, did God speak to you today? Did you listen to Carrie and Bobby read? Did you listen to them read? Maya Angelou writes, you may write me down in history with bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, and I am the dream and hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. There is resilience. There is somebody who gets it. And my prayer for the rest of us, we get it too. Amen. And now from Washington, D.C., Spirit of Life. There is, as has always been the case when you look at American history, I can't speak for other countries, there have always been divisions. There has always been racism of some sort. There's always been classism. There's got to be one place that is transcended. And oddly enough, one of the most simple rituals dates back in antiquity, roughly 10,000 years ago, in the Anatolia region, when they learned about wheat. And they found offering the stranger and friends simple wheat in the form of bread and a cup was an act of friendship, an act of welcome. Later on, the Hittites will adopt that, and later on, the Canaanites will adopt that, and later on, that Jews will adopt that. And Jesus, throughout his ministry, will have meals. Very, very simple meals, breaking bread. Breaking bread with publicans and sinners. If you're not sure what that means, that's us, all of us. Simple bread, simple cup. We have this meal to make sure that everybody knows you are always welcome here. We don't care about your class. We don't care about the tone of your skin. We don't care about the texture of your hair. We don't care about your gender identification. We don't care if you have no money, if you're dirt poor. We don't care. What we care is that you are you. And we offer this simple, simple bread and this very, very simple cup whenever we gather as a symbol that you are always welcome and loved. And then we have these very, very lovely words beginning with, of all things, Saint Winnie the Pooh. If you would please read those after me, if you would. Promise me you'll remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think. God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrows, sun without rain. But the divine did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way. And I can't think of a better parting prayer than the music that follows. Our prayer and the music are the same. And a final blessing, and then we'll say a moment of goodbye to everybody before we leave. We combined an interesting Irish blessing from a very, very long time ago with a modern Hindu variation. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall softly on your fields. And when you and I meet again, may the divine in me greet and embrace the divine in you. Amen. Thank you for being here today, Maureen and Pat and Donald. Thank you very, very much for tech. Dennis Walcott from Port St. Lucie. My classmate and long time friend, Chet, is here in Miami. My cousin, Doug. Felix, we were talking about you earlier. Thank you for all the artwork and stuff you've been doing. It is wild. Bobby and Carrie Vance, we need to have you read Maya Angelou once a year. That was, I don't think I've ever heard that read that like that before. Thank you. Thank you. Pam is from New York. Thank you very, very much. Ray is here. Thank you, Ray, and for the picture. And Rick and Judy and Gail and Tom from Port Orange. Hello, Gail and Tom. And Danny Sorkin and Eddie and Alan, also from New York. Christopher Diaz, Serge Cruz, Cindy and Larry Deach. Danny Sorkin, Pat Kincaid, and Carol Goldstein. A lot of New Yorkers here today. Kissimmee, New York, yes, Kissimmee, Florida as well. Be safe and well and bless you all. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.